Good evening, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation. Decided to jump on this evening real quick, drop some jewels, or just share some stories with you all. Just coming from my dentist appointment. See my crooked smile? Just had my teeth cleaned, and just got the report that I need to have my wisdom teeth extracted. So I had to go schedule an appointment for the surgery, and they'll extract the wisdom teeth sometime in January. To have them pulled out. So I'm 46 years old, about to have my wisdom teeth extracted, and should be an interesting journey. But that's not the reason I jumped on. This is a new dentist that I attended today. I have had the same dentist probably for a decade and a half. And when I went to schedule an appointment for my cleaning with my traditional dentist, they had been bought, because last year, 2020, I didn't go to the dentist during COVID, so I didn't have my cleaning and stuff done during 2020. So now I'm overdue. So I came in, or I called to schedule an appointment to get my teeth cleaned and checked out, just make sure everything was on the up and up. And when I called my dentist, they had been acquired by another company. They merged, and they no longer accept my insurance. So I had to go through the process of finding a new dentist. And I did. I jumped on our insurance website to figure out what dentist was in my network and try to go get a new dentist so I can get my teeth cleaned. And I knew, because in talking with my previous dentist, he was thinking that my wisdom teeth was going to be needed to be extracted, you know what I meant, took out in the near future. So I knew there was a potential to have my wisdom teeth taken out. So I called a few dentists, and once again, a lot of the dentists that I called were no longer accepting my insurance. So I finally found a dentist that accepted my insurance, and I was called and scheduled an appointment, and just left that appointment now. And what was so significant about leaving that appointment that made me want to jump on and do a video, because we're on this Trust the Process series, and that thing that says all things work for the good that love the Lord and that are called according to his purpose is so true. Like, things happen for a reason. So this was by far the best dentist experience I've ever had. And like I said, I had my previous dentist for over a decade, maybe a decade and a half. And the only reason I got to this dentist is because my last dentist changed, and they are no longer accepting my insurance. And then a lot of the dentists that I called previous to reaching this one were not accepting my insurance, or if they were accepting my insurance, they were not accepting new patients. So a combination of things that have transpired that landed me to getting seen by this dentist today. And I thank God for it, because I used to dread going to the dentist, and it used to be a painful experience. My gums used to bleed, and the dentist used to always blame me about not flossing, but in the latter stages of my life, I started flossing. I mean, I got a floss stick, and I floss. But every time I went to my previous dentist, it was a painful experience. He jokingly let my mouth fall to the side, trying to get it open. I know it's a bit exaggerated, but he'd be just so rough, and I associated that with, that's just the way it is. He grinding, scraping my teeth, and sometimes he's overshooting the teeth and he's hitting my gums, and my gum is bleeding, and I was just like, man, this shit hurts. And it was just like, okay, you rinse it out, all rough and things of that nature. But that was what I had grown accustomed to receiving, meaning, like, I thought that was normal. And every time I went to the dentist, I used to dread, like, okay, I want my teeth clean, but the process of getting them clean was just, it was painful. You hear the stories about people going into the dentist, and it's just not a pleasant experience. So I already had that mental baggage of expecting it to be a less than pleasant experience. And then it was actually come to realization that it was a bad experience I'm not saying my previous dentist was a bad dentist. I'm saying that, yeah, I can guess I can say that. Because what I received today, this lady Amber, she was so gentle with my teeth. She scraped, she did the flossing, and I'm just sitting there. You know how you can be sitting there and you can be like anticipating something is supposed to be more intense and something supposed to be worse than what it is, and you kind of preparing yourself. So mentally, I had started to prepare myself for, okay, let's just get through this. You want your teeth clean, you want them polished. This is something you got to do in order to get that end state. So I'm sitting there in the chair, and she started going through it. She's very pleasant, and she's going through my teeth and stuff like that. So everything's looking good. No cavities. Although I do got to get I got a cavity in my wisdom teeth, so instead of repairing that, they're just going to pull it out. So can't say I don't have any cavities, but I've been very intentional about flossing and trying to take care of my teeth. But sitting in that chair, she was so gentle with it, and it was just so smooth, and it was just like, okay, all right, I know there's more coming. Just preparing. Maybe she's just getting the prep work done before she actually gets into the rough stuff, and it never got to the level of where my gums bled or that it was painful like it was before, like I had experienced before. And I was like, and I told her, I said, this has been the most pleasant dentist experience. It says, I'm used and I'm accustomed to my gums bleeding and it being a lot rough. And she says, yeah, a lot of people say that, but it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of people have that stigma that it has to be painful, that it has to be, really rough process in order to get it to where you need it to be. And she's like, no, the way I do it, it's smooth. She was kind of tooting her own horn, whatever it may be, but I enjoyed my dentist experience so much that I decided to jump on, because I realized there's a parallel not only from my dentist experience, but in life. Sometimes what we experience in life, we come to accept as the norm. We could be treated less than ideal, and we thinking okay, this is just the way life is. And we will start to give our experience, we will start to trust our experience of something less than desirable more than we would the Most High and what He wants for us. So don't become a victim of just trusting your experience, thinking the way it is the way it always will be, or the way it is correct. Because there's a saying out there that says practice makes perfect. Have you ever heard that? Practice makes perfect. That's a lie. It takes perfect practice to make perfect. Because you could be practicing the wrong thing. You could be, misled with your calculations, and you can just be rehearsing and going through the motions of doing something, and you're increasing the intensity in which you are doing it, but at the same time what you're doing is wrong. So practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And I know there's no such thing as perfection, and there's a saying out there that says striving for perfection is demoralizing, striving for excellence is motivating. So you can have excellence without being perfect. And I'm not saying that the dentist I left was perfect, but she damn sure was excellent in how she went through and conducted her business. It was just gentle. And then when the dentist came in, because she did the cleaning, she's a tech, and when the dentist came in, the way he was articulate with his words, said, okay, this is going on, and he said, all right, I got to pull your cheek out a little further. And I'm thinking, okay, here comes the pain. And he just gently pulled it out. not like, the guy, like, he was just trying to, my previous dentist would, like I said, would just stick his finger in there and just pull it all the way out, like trying to pull my whole jaw off. But I had grown accustomed to that being my normal. So there's some things in life that we experience that we have associated with normal. And it shouldn't be that. So just because you experience something doesn't mean that's the way you were supposed to experience. And the way I got to this dentist here wasn't by product of me being smart and saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to go to another dentist. It's getting dark here. I'm not sure if that's going to help you. I'll turn it on. But the way, it's crazy how it gets dark so early now. It's only like 5 o'clock and it's looking like it's going on 8:30 or so. But anyways, got a little distracted. But sometimes you can experience something and you can think like, this is the way it's supposed to be. And like I said, I have experienced that for over a decade and thinking like this is what is meant to be. You gotta test your experience. Your experience cannot be in line with what's really best for you. There is a saying that says experience is the teacher of fools. Like, if you need to experience something before you learn something, then you're pretty much going to be in a foolish state for most of your life. I know I've said this quote quite a bit, and it talks about the difference between a smart person and a wise person is that a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from other people's mistakes. So trust your body and your senses too. We were given our senses of a smell, taste, sight, to touch and feel. You were given those senses for a reason. So if something is triggering those senses in a negative way, if you were to ignore those signs and signals, then you will find yourself getting less than a pleasant result. Like, my body was telling me that dentist was rough with me before. Everything in my body, it gave me indications with my gums bleeding. It gave me indication with just a lot of the pain that was associated with it. My body was telling me that, hey, this is hurting you. You can't really say hurting, but sometimes when people try to help you, they hurt you. When your helping starts hurting, that's when you got to stop helping. I'm not just saying that I needed to stop going to the dentist, but I didn't have enough information to know like there is another experience out there. And the parallel was the same with my previous relationship. They tell you happy wife, happy life, and you go through the thing and you try to process everything to try to figure out how does it get better. The first 5 years is horrible, then it's 10, you think it gets better at 10, and you think and you always start projecting future relief down the line. But the reality of it is like, no, that's a bad experience. All experience is not good experience. And the same with your job. You may think like, okay, I need to find a new job, or this job is paying my bills. I don't like my job, but I'm excelling at it, making money. I just bought a new house, and you may have all these rationales to justify staying with that job, but your experience there is less than fulfilling. You're just going through the motions to trade your time for money. So your experience there is like, oh, I don't ever want to work and this and that, or I can't wait to retire to stop this. And work may not truly be the issue. It may be just your experience. You were in a bad environment and had a bad experience, and now you're trying to take that experience and you try to apply it to everyone else that experienced that same thing. Like, if someone were to talk to me prior to going to this dentist and ask me about my dentist experience, I would have told them, hey, it's painful, be prepared, your gums may bleed, guys going to be pulling around in your mouth and stuff like that. And I would have been giving them my truth based off my experience and what I had went through. If someone were to ask me that, I wouldn't be lying to them. That is what I experienced. But sometimes what you experience is not the reality of what the true experience should be, because you got, what happened, but you got to ask yourself, is what happened what was supposed to happen? And sometimes there's a departure between what was supposed to happen and what actually happened. And that's why in the military, we always do after actions review, AAR. After we conduct a mission, we go back and says, all right, what was planned, what was supposed to happen, and what actually happened. So when you talk about what was supposed to happen versus what actually happened, then you go into the analysis of give me some sustains and then give me some improvements. So you go and figure out, all right, this is what it was different than what we had planned it to be, but why was it different? And I think if you do an AAR, an after actions review off of all your experiences, you can reflect and you can decide and shape the life and come up to a life that you want to have, and not just be a passenger. Because before I had experienced this, I was just a passenger, and I was listening to everything that was told to me by my previous dentist. Like, hey, this is the way it is, it's your fault. You haven't been flossing. That's why your gums are weak and it's bleeding. And there's an element of truth in there. At the point in time, like, you do need to floss. You do need to take care of your teeth. You do need to brush and do those things. I was brushing every day in my younger days, but it was I was probably in the late 30s before I started really flossing. I'm not sure those who on this video, if you floss every day, but now it's become a part of my routine. But before it was foreign. I didn't floss. So I thought it was right for me to experience pain because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do outside of that. But even when I started flossing, my experience didn't change with the dentist. It was still a rough experience. I still was bleeding. And I tell you, I didn't bleed during this experience. It was truly pleasant. So check your experiences and making sure what you're experiencing is what you want out of life. And don't just be a passenger just because someone says it's supposed to be that way. Whether it be at work, whether it be in a relationship, or whether it be just whatever it is that you're doing in life, you need to make sure and test your experiences with reality. And if you're not getting the results that you want to have, then it's time to move on. And sometimes don't be upset that change is happening. Like for me, when I called the dentist, part of me was like, man, I've been coming to you 10, 15 years. Now all of a sudden you want to change and not accept my insurance. I mean, those are thoughts that went through my head, and you can sit there and you can have a conversation with the receptionist who's far detached from the decisions I've made for them no longer to accept your insurance. But I would tell you, I had those thoughts like, man, what am I supposed to do now? And then the same thing when I called dentists that were on my provider list and they're no longer accepting insurance. Like, I'm thinking, like, why are they not updating their website? These people shouldn't even be on here for me to be able to get that. And then I called a dentist and they're accepting insurance but not accepting new patients. And there was a lot of rejections or failures along that way in order for me to land at Dr. Woodland to get my teeth cleaned and then potentially get it. Well, we'll get them, my wisdom teeth extracted in January. But had I not went through that process, I don't experience this level of professionalism of being a good steward of their skill set and craft and benefiting from a pleasant experience. I was truly expecting a less than pleasant experience. And you got to realize, like, there are different levels of professionals in everything. Like even in the Army, those people come to the Army for various different reasons. Some of them come to get away from home. Some of them come for the college money. And you realize that when people got differing ways of why or reasons they joined, meaning like when we were going to Afghanistan or when we go to Kosovo, places like that, or go to Kuwait, there's an element of the formation like, hey, I didn't join for this, but the purpose of the Army is to train to fight the nation's wars. I mean, you're training to go to war. So either you're training for war or you're going to war. Those are your two primary missions in joining the Army. There's a lot of benefits that have come along with that. But when it's time for deployment, people had all kind of excuses why they couldn't do it. They didn't want to do that, and a few of them got out of going. So just because you're in a particular profession don't mean that they're the top of the profession. There's bottom at each profession. There's a saying that says 50% of all lawyers graduate at the bottom of their class. There's only 100%, so 50% of them got to be at the bottom. As well as the doctors. There are 50% of the doctors that barely graduated. That took that final bar exam, maybe that final exam, and maybe it's their third time. Maybe they experimented on you. Maybe this dentist was the one, it took him a while to pass it, and now he's going and making everybody suffer for his lack of technique, so to speak. And now everybody that sits in that chair has to have a bad experience because that's the way he does things. So just because they're a professional, maybe they're not the top, So just because you experience something, don't mean your experience is the reality for everyone. So I'm going to wrap this up. Just wanted to jump on real quick and tell you that I got my Cricut Smile clean, and it was a pleasant experience. So check your experience and make sure that you're not communicating things based off your experience that are inaccurate, especially if it's something that's negative or even something positive. Something that's good to you may not be good for someone else. Something that's bad to you may not be bad to someone else. So everybody has an independent experience, but think through it. Don't make it like that is your now gospel for how you would experience something similar to that. Have an independent mind to be able to think for yourself. And if you want something better, regardless if that's a professional or not, regardless if that's a doctor or not, and I told you when I was going through and becoming my own lawyer through my divorce, and then I finally hired a lawyer, and I got into the court, and the lawyer, she didn't want to get up and say something for the job in front of the judge. She's like, she already made up her mind. I said, no, we're not leaving. You will get up and you will say this. And she stood up and she said what I had paid her to say, because she was working for me. Regardless of what that judge ruled, if the judge was going to rule what she was going to rule, she was going to rule after I had said what I was going to say, and which I had paid her to say. And I know that sounds arrogant, but I mean, this is your life. Don't let people represent you or give you an experience that's less than what you desire. And if they do, then you've corrected them. But you got to have more information. Like with my dentist, I didn't have more information that there was a better way to do it than what was being done, because that was my normal. So when something changed, and it's forcing you to do something different, don't fight it. It might actually be a blessing for you. Be well, young kings.